Welcome
Good morning.
to another edition of the Morning Cup.
Yes.
Welcome to Paige, Arizona's Morning Show. Thanks, guys, for being here, and thank you for liking, commenting, and sharing on all these videos.
Alrighty.
All right, now that's out of the way.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
For those of you guys on YouTube, howdy, how you doing? Thanks for hitting the thumbs up, and thank you for commenting and sharing on those videos. For you guys on Facebook over there, thank you for liking, commenting, and sharing, and thank you for being here. And we've got a few comments, so I'm going to go ahead and read those real quick. Kelly says, good morning, good morning! And Michael says, good morning, everyone, good morning! And Mario says, good morning, Mario!
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, YouTube! Okay, the energy for the week has now been expended.
I was wondering.
That was all I had left in me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It has been a very long weekend.
Yes, it has, especially for some of us.
Well, yeah, because Saturday we both forgot about something that we were doing.
Oh yeah, I already forgot about it again. Gina says, good morning from YouTube. Good morning,
Good
Gina.
morning.
Good to see you over there. So, yes, you know how we talk about the whole schedule thing? There's me who remembers, if I'm lucky, 30 seconds, and then there's you that's supposed to put things down in a schedule book that you refuse to do because you're really good at scheduling. And then there's what the reality of the situation is when something important comes up, and I get a weird reminder very close to the event, and I mention it, and then panic is in the air. She's giving me the look, isn't she?
Yes.
Isn't she?
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Perhaps we need to do a schedule book so that we can have these things before it's panic time.
Okay, so I misinterpreted how long it would take me to get ready.
Okay, so what you're saying is next time, whatever you think it should be, double it.
Yes.
All right. So let's make a mental note of that. 30 seconds is going to pass. I'm going to forget. What's your job?
Uh-huh. It was on the calendar.
Well, yeah. Uh-huh.
And there was a reminder.
Uh-huh. There was, but not enough time. So next time.
You're saying I didn't do my job in putting it on the calendar.
No, you didn't give yourself enough time. See, that's the problem. Let's see. We got some comments over here. Renee says, good morning,
Good morning, Renee.
Good to see you. So you guys might be wondering to yourselves, what on earth are they talking about?
I think that's an everyday thing.
Yeah, pretty much. You guys probably have no idea what's going on. I don't know what's going on. So I don't know how you know what's going on. So, there was the best of Paige on, was it Saturday?
It was Saturday.
It wasn't Friday. It was
No,
Saturday.
it was
Okay.
Saturday.
I don't even know, man. They had the Best of Paige event, and it was a swing event, and for music stuff, 40s, and it was fun. But we got a reminder an hour before it that it was going on, and we both completely spaced it, and I was like, oh. And so I hobbled myself back to Lois's office and said, hey, that Best of Paige thing is coming up here in about an hour. And then the eyes got big.
Yes.
And there was cursing involved.
A lot.
From both sides.
From both sides?
Yeah, you and me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, your side and my side. And so, it was a swinging party where you're supposed to dress up like the 40s and stuff. And so, yeah, no.
It was fun, but not the prep work.
Now, the prep work wasn't fun. We had to try and figure out what to wear. Then we had to get in it. For me, luckily, it wasn't too complicated. For you, unfortunately, I don't know what the hell happened. I don't want to know, but damn. Dave says, whoa, a swing event? No. Shh,
Big band.
Yes, you're messing with my joke. I got one. Shh. That's over on YouTube, guys.
But, no, it was... Okay, I'm not your typical female.
No, not
At
usually.
all.
Not usually.
At all.
Not usually.
And it takes me a little while to get makeup done. When it comes to hair, that's a completely different story. And I had a very big girl freak out moment on Saturday. I couldn't get my hair. I said very big.
Well, I'm out of frame. They can't see what
Yeah,
I'm doing.
I said very big girl freak out moment. I could not get my hair to do what it was or what I wanted it to do.
AKA, it was a freaking bleeping bloppity freaking nightmare.
It was. And every time because I jumped in the shower took longer than I had anticipated it taking. And then my hair wouldn't cooperate. And every time it moved, it freaking tingled again. It was a mess. So, yeah, I threw down the brush several times and said, "That's it, I'm done."
Yep, and I said, "Okay, we don't have to go." Yay!
And then I told him, no, we still had to go.
And you're doing that. Terrible, man. Terrible. Gina says, "I was thinking the same thing, Dave, over on YouTube."
Yeah, no. It was big band era themed.
Yes.
1940s, 1950s.
Marie says, Good morning, Marie.
Good morning, Marie. Yay! You pronounced her name right.
I have been the last, 20 times.
I know, but every time I do that, every time you do, I have to do that to
success.
encourage you. Yes.
Yeah. You're so mean to me, man.
And Gina says she so understands hair freakouts.
It was
and it was just one of those. I don't like being late to things, and I especially don't like being the one that causes us to be late to things. And so I said, "Forget it. This is what I'm doing with my hair. No makeup." Yeah. I was not
fine.
happy.
You were beautiful.
I was not happy because I had all these big plans, and I figured I'd have time to do it.
Disaster.
It was, at least for us, in the prep work.
It was. Marie says, "I am sure you have gorgeous hair." She does have gorgeous hair. She looks amazing. She's absolutely beautiful. But when there's an event coming up and panic happens, it doesn't matter. Because apparently...
As I was brushing it.
Oh, boy. Gina says, "But I'm happy to have hair to freak out about."
Yes.
That is definitely always a bonus.
It is. It
Definitely.
is. And one of the things that I was trying to do, because it was 40s, I was trying to do a rockabilly look, which I've never done before, which, hello.
Yeah, so she
It
wanted
should
to
have
do
known.
an experimental procedure less than an hour before the actual thing. Not a good idea. Dave says at least you got told it was actually themed. Yes.
Only because we read the flyer.
Yeah, the flyer said it was a thing. So originally, I wanted to kind of dress up as well, and I'm like, what can I wear that would make it look like I was from the 40s?
Oh.
And so one of the things that popped into my head is I have, you guys saw it on the Christmas special, I have a Hugh Hefner smoking jacket. And, it's kind of red, it's got the nice black trim and everything like that. And, I mentioned that, and Lois says, "It's not that kind of swing party." And I was like, oh. So, I ended up wearing a different costume. That was my joke there, David. Yeah, they're like, oh, okay, well, I suppose I can understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
Check the comments over here on Facebook. Marie says, "Let your hair free."
Yes, I was trying to, but with it, I was trying to do a scarf thing, and I have an odd-shaped head.
It wasn't the shape of your head, it was the panic in your heart.
No, actually, because I got the scarf where I wanted it, and because we used to had bobby pins.
Yeah, we had bobby pins.
But
apparently I need to invest in another crate of them. And then they will sit unused except for the one time when we lose them and you need them.
Yeah, pretty much.
And by we, I mean you.
Yeah. But I can't wear headbands or anything like that because my head is an odd shape. And
when you say
so
it's odd shaped, I don't understand what you mean because it
when
doesn't look odd shaped
when
to me.
it comes to these things, because they just slide off.
So you have like an egg head?
Probably.
I don't even know, man.
So I got the scarf where I wanted it to be originally, and then it just went bleep.
Timothy says, "Good morning, Timothy.
Good morning."
And let's see, Gina is doing the laughing face over on YouTube. Yeah, not that kind of swing party. Although I think it would have went over well. So anyway.
So yeah, there was panic in the air before.
Gina says, "Scarves don't stay on my head, slips up the back."
Yes.
I don't know how it fireworks, man. All I know is there was
Okay.
a panic and disturbances and freakiness in the air,
Oh,
man.
we don't have a scarf in here because I was going to say we'll try it on your head.
I don't have any hair.
See if it stays.
Well, I do have hair. I need a haircut. I am starting to get hippie-like again.
Yeah, you are.
But, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so there was... So
Note to
that was
self,
a bloody
don't
nightmare.
do that again.
Yeah, pretty much. There was a bloody nightmare before the event. And then we got there and it was pretty cool.
It was. And I'm actually very glad that you brought up the whole best of page because there is something that I want to talk about with it. Now, I forgot the categories that people were voting on.
I never read them.
And Dave says...
what are you looking for in a head shape? Dodecahedron? Pretty sure round is the norm. You know, I agree with you, Dave.
Yeah, but it's a girl thing with scarves, man.
Any kind of polyhedron would be nice, apparently, for her, because then it has little edges that would hold stuff. I don't know.
It probably.
Maybe glue? Clips? I don't know,
That would be bobby pins, man.
Yeah, but you with the bobby pin thing, you're the reason we don't have them.
I know.
Because you're like, I've never used these. I'm like, okay. And then, I need bobby pins. I'm like,
All right, we gotta...
Let me check the comments over here on Facebook real quick. Marie says, we have to come to Paige with my whole freaking amazing team hair and makeup, and I will take pictures. We just had kind of old cars meeting last Saturday. I chose to wear 50s years makeup and hair. That was so cool.
Yes!
That sounds amazing.
It does.
Yeah, fix it.
Fix it.
I think it's amazing, but it doesn't matter what I think. She doesn't listen to me.
It got to the point where, with my hair, just trying to brush it out, that I said, forget it, I'm chopping it all off.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Because she had been so violent with it and flinging it about, it was knotting itself. Entropy took place. Thermodynamics was all over the place. Thermodynamics. Dave, remember the thermodynamics thing. See, look, that's how my brain works.
Dave is saying 3M spray.
Yes.
That's called Aquanet.
No, 3M spray is way better.
No, Aquanet
It's freaking permanent, man.
Aquanet is 3M spray for hair.
No, I'm going with the 3M spray because then you can get it the way you want and it'll never change. You can sleep on it, you can do whatever. Perfect.
Right. That's
you just
what,
never be able to change it.
That's what Aquanet does.
Yeah, I know. You can wash that out. 3M spray, then what you do is you get it exactly how you want it, and then you very carefully cut it close to the scalp and pull it off, let it grow out, and do the next style, and you keep doing that, and then you have your own wings.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah. That's horrifying that you thought of that.
Dave says it will with that stuff over on YouTube. And Carrie says, good morning. She's over on YouTube. Good morning there, Carrie. And Gina says, we just don't have the back of head lip to help keep our scarves and headbands out. So you're supposed to have like a little ridge in the back of your nugget to keep stuff on?
Yeah, pretty much.
And instead it's smooth.
Yes. It's an evolutionary thing. Apparently.
It's an evolutionary. Oh, criminy. I'm not touching that one. I am not touching that one. So anyway, yeah. All right. So yeah, we went to the best of page thing. Mm-hmm. What? You said you had something.
I did, and I forgot that they had two categories of this nature. Now, there was what was the category? Person of the Year.
Oh,
okay.
I didn't see that.
They did have Person of the Year, and Bill Dyack won. And
for those of you who have no idea who the hell that is, he is the former mayor of Patriot.
Yes, and no offense to Mr. Dyack, but I was really disappointed that he got it. And it's because I forgot that they had this next category.
Oh, right.
And
okay.
I was disappointed and I was upset that he got it because there is somebody here in the community I voted for, and obviously forgot what category I voted for her. But her name is Kathy Steffen. And I wanted her to, be that winner.
Right, sure.
Because of everything that she does in this community.
A lot.
Then she does a lot. And then the next category came up and it was Humanitarian of the Year.
She definitely won that
She
category.
won that one.
Hands down.
And she did win that one. So yeah, I was, because of my memory,
And you're the one making the schedule.
Pretty much. But yes, congratulations to Mr. Dyack for winning Person of the Year, and congratulations to Kathy Steffen for winning Humanitarian of the Year.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Now, if you guys don't know, and for the majority you don't, because you don't live here, Kathy Steffen actually runs the food kitchen.
The Circle of Page Soup Kitchen.
Here in Page. Yes. And and she does a lot more than just that.
She does a lot, man. She's always busy. She's always helping people out. She's always doing really cool stuff. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
she definitely deserved it. It was amazing.
It was great. But I had a little disappointment, angry moment.
Yeah, because she wasn't ready. Let's see. Dave says, Carrie, you missed it. We need at least 3 to 5 comments about going to a swing party. Go! Yeah, she totally missed that. Carrie says, Freeze It is awesome, too. This is coming from an 80s big-haired Southern girl. That hair jacked up to Jesus. Oh, yeah, the tall stuff. I remember that. Yeah. And Carrie says, Ooh, Dave. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yep, not touching that one.
No, especially when it says Quayle said.
Oh boy. Yep. Maybe I should do it in that voice.
So yes, those were two of the big winners Saturday night. Cool. And congratulations to all the winners.
So they had a silent auction.
Yes.
We had some fun with that. We had some fun with the silent auction. They had all these tables set up and you go around and you put in your little things. And we actually I've never done anything with silent auctions because, I'm a cheap bleep. And, because Lois was there and she was excited, it was like, sure, well, let's go ahead and try a couple of these things. We didn't get them. Yeah, there was some cool stuff there.
There was a lot of cool stuff, and then they had the live auction.
I wasn't going into that yet.
Oh.
You just jumped ahead.
Okay.
I'll let you take it then.
No. I was just... there were a lot of cool things, and a lot of... good on you for the businesses who donated.
Yeah, there was some cool stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
There were some amazing... there was one that was a Las Vegas package. This was in the silent auction, and it was... 3 or 4 different Vegas performances?
Oh, yeah, that one.
I was like, holy crow!
Actually, I thought that was in the live auction one.
No,
it wasn't? Okay.
That one was on its own in the silent auction.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it was 3 or 4 Vegas performances. So
yeah. Oh, criminy. Over on YouTube,
Carrie.
They've gone down the drain over there.
I don't think they've gone.
And Carrie says that first comment was not dirty. Well, we saw you going down the spiral of the drain there.
Yeah,
We know where this is going.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And there's one reason we know where this is going.
Yeah. Because we know,
no, I was thinking because our brains are at the same level.
Oh. Yeah, you're gonna have to rewatch the beginning of that. There was a joke.
The whole it takes one to know one.
Yeah. But anyway, but anyway, yeah. So the silent auction thing was pretty cool. Man, that place was packed to the gills. There were people hanging off the rafters in there. It was jam freaking packed. Let's see. Oh, Carrie says, "Hurry, everyone, get on." And Gina says, "Not by me." Not by me. I'm not sure. I've lost the YouTube guys are in their own world over there.
Yeah, they are. That sounds about normal.
Yeah, well, that's all right. It's okay. So anyway, yeah, there were people hanging off the rafters in that joint.
There were.
I couldn't believe how many people showed up.
Yeah, it's apparently a huge thing. And this is the first time we've gone.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have one last year, so.
Well, you've been here for 17 years, and it's the first time you've gone.
Yeah, well, you got to pay to go, so.
Well, no, I'm just...
And going back to I'm a cheap ass. I'm just saying. What?
I was just saying, it was, for our first time there, it was really impressive.
Yeah, because we've been to the chamber mixers before, and...
Nothing.
What did I miss?
Nothing.
I guess I'm done because now I'm completely derailed. I have no idea what's going on.
No, it's fine. You say you were saying we normally go to the chamber mixers.
And those are fairly well attended, but not compared to this thing, man. This thing, it was crazy. Let's see. Carrie says the crazy train. Yep. Going off the rails on a crazy train.
Because that's us.
Oh, and Helen over on YouTube says, "Good morning, good morning. Good to see you over there." Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking and commenting and hitting the... See, I'm working on the YouTube thing. Liking, commenting, and subscribing and hitting that little bell thing.
And sharing.
And sharing, yes. I don't know, man. And you guys over on Facebook, same thing. Like, comment, and share. I love how we've managed to get the audience split so we can grow both sides here.
It's great. And Gina says she has not joined them in the drain. She's just,
she's still in the
pattering
sink.
around in the sink.
Probably a good idea. Stay up there and wade water. And let's see. David says, "Excuse me, I am late. What are you talking about?" I don't know. Do you?
We have
We're
been
lost.
talking about City of Page.
Oh, City of... Oh, wait, no.
Or no, not City of Page.
I thought there was a thing, and there was an event where we were at, and then there was... Oh. See?
Yes, I've already been working this morning.
We're talking about the Best of Page event, David, that's going on. You need to rewatch the beginning. There was some funny stuff that you'll have to join in on later. Oh, let me check the comments over here on the Facebook side of things. Renee says, "I'm lost. Had to get out of bed."
Get little out of bed.
Get little out of bed. Oh, okay. Sorry. We're
We're lost too now.
Yeah. I don't even know. But hey, look. Bam! There it is. There you go, Renee. Just for you. Ha! Tell the majestic stash we said hello.
Yes.
But yeah, so the Best of Page thing is what we're talking about, David, over on YouTube. Dave says, "Gina, join us. We all float down here."
Oh my.
Oh my goodness. Isn't that the it thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no. No.
Float. No? Okay.
Nope.
Anyway, so yeah, the Best of Page thing. Lots and lots of people. Let's see.
Lots of fun.
Yep, no, it's a fun. The only gripe that I had about the entire event was that the entire event was approximately 1.5 to 2 hours behind their schedule the entire time. They could never catch up. So it just kept going and going. And as you guys here that are regulars are, know, I'm not exactly a social butterfly. Yeah, definitely not. I'm more like a condor picking out something's eyeballs. That's all I'm saying. There's no freaking butterfly going on here. And so sitting there for that long was interesting.
Oh boy,
very interesting.
You're talking about interesting. One of the interesting things we found out during the Best of Page is that our mayor knows how to dance.
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah, he does. He knows how to dance.
Very well.
So he was country dancing to swing music.
No, they were. Maybe.
What do you?
I don't know what they were doing, but they were dancing very well.
No, I talked to him.
Oh, okay.
They were country dancing to swing music. That's a country dance.
Oh, okay. Was that two-step?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Get your foot off me. Trying to play footsie with me on live TV? I will chop that thing off.
No, you won't.
Yeah, probably.
But I spoke to his wife, and she said that's actually when he was in the service and he was stationed over in Okinawa, he came back and surprised her by have taken dance lessons over in Okinawa.
Well, this is the funny thing, because I actually mentioned this to him, too. So he learned how to do the two-step country dance over in Japan. And so this was the comparison. I said, well, apparently their dance program is like their karaoke program. They're just better at it than we are.
Yeah.
Because they sing our songs even better than we do over here. It's like they've got professionals, they've got amateurs, they've got divisions, they've got championships. They love that stuff. And they have no idea what they're singing when they do, but they can sing it better than the people that do.
I think they understand what they're
Most
saying.
of them don't, actually. Yeah. I watched a documentary on it.
Oh,
so
okay.
Don't mess with me, man. Don't mess with me. I know what I'm talking about.
Really?
What? Let's see. Renee says my favorite shirt over on Facebook. Well, yes, one of my favorite shirts as well.
Oh, let's see.
Wait, and Gina is laughing at Dave over on YouTube.
Yeah.
And Carrie says, "Okay, hold on. I'm gonna have to censor this first. Let me make sure." Oh, yep, definitely not going there. Gina says they need my daughter to run it. They would not have been behind. Yeah, she's like an organizational person.
She is.
Yeah. At some point, I'm going to have to hire me a virtual assistant so I can figure out what the hell I'm doing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's called Let Me Finish School, and then I can start scheduling everything properly.
Sure. We believe you, Lois. We believe you.
Oh, the urge to just destroy my coffee is...
To destroy your coffee? Oh, you mean dump it on me?
Yes.
Oh.
Almost overwhelming.
Oh.
Almost overwhelming.
So anyway, yeah, there was that. So the mayor can dance. I
Yes.
did see that there was a dance contest after we left, and apparently the mayor's wife and Brian Carey actually won best dance,
Oh, wow.
best dancing or whatever.
Nice. Good for them. Congratulations. Yeah, we did have to leave early because you had things that you had to do yesterday.
Yep. Yeah, we're not
Which
moving to that
caused
yet. But, yeah.
both of us to have to wake up really early.
Yeah,
Like,
we
really,
haven't
really.
progressed to that yet.
Really, really.
You're
early.
jumping way ahead, man. You're like a whole day ahead of time now.
And?
We were still talking about best of page.
Yeah, well, that is true.
And now you're like ping-ponging, man.
Well, that's what
You have
I
to
do.
go in a linear fashion. This is not like normal women mind where you go boom, 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 and nobody can follow the lines.
Our audience can follow the line.
Oh, jeez. Anyway, ow, something's wrong with my eyeball. Anyway, all right, so yeah, like I said, they were like an hour and a half, 2 hours behind schedule the entire time, but they had a buffet.
Yes.
That was interesting.
Yes.
Slightly tasty.
It was.
And I'm not one for buffets usually, but it was pretty good for a buffet.
Oh, well, yeah. There's a reason though, because
They ran out of the good stuff as I got there. So.
Well, no, I was meaning why you're not one for buffets.
Oh, okay. We can't put that on this show.
No, we can't.
No. But anyway, so we were sitting there, and then let's see, what was it we were doing?
I don't know.
Well, we had the dinner thing, and then, so we're kind of waiting, and things are getting kind of drug out in certain sections, and so Lois, who is like, she's like the typical phone zombie where she's addicted to her phone at the weirdest times. Don't you contradict me. This is not the case. I'm telling you.
I was
she's
not
got
going to contradict you.
Okay.
It dawned on me what you're leading into.
We're going to have to put some of these up in Behind the Hat Unplugged. But she decided that then would be the perfect time for her and I to take selfies with those weird sticker things that make you look like different stuff. Who knows what I'm talking about out there? Where you look like puppies or sheep or monkeys, and you got little stuff in it, and stuff happens. It was crazy. And so we're just sitting over there doing our own little thing, and there is a series of weird pictures where I have different animal faces on my head. Yes, I did. So Behind the Hat Unplugged is going to see at least one or two of those because and if you don't know what Behind the Hat Unplugged is, it is our behind the scenes group where you guys get to see all kinds of interesting things and stuff that gets released before it goes to the main news channel or stuff that's just not appropriate for the normal news channel. And me
like
and puppy ears or bunny ears would be one of those.
Or deer ears.
Or deer ears, yes. So, we got some more comments over here on the YouTube side. David says, how come you pre-read Carrie's statements before you read them? Could give a person a complex. No, it's just we can't say some of those things on air.
Yeah.
Well, we love them. They make us laugh.
They do.
If people want to read it, they can come over to the YouTube side and check it out. Carrie says, Aquanet causes temporary brain damage is all I can say as a defense. I didn't drink it meant by using so much on my hair. That's good.
Oh, that's funny.
That's a good one. Yeah, don't drink the Aquanet. That's bad for your health.
No, it is. Well, so is using.
And then you get helmet head from the Aquanet. Oh, man. So anyway, yeah, there are several of those pictures that will be available to, unfortunately, to our members from Unplugged.
You know how tempted I am to give like a quick a teaser. Just turn my phone around.
Oh yeah,
and
no, because it won't focus. You know how that thing works. That's how that thing works. So anyway, yeah, we were doing that, and then there was the. Oh wait, that's right. They did the award ceremony.
Yes.
They did the award ceremony, and they would do like 2 or 3 awards, and then take like a 10-minute break, and then do a couple more awards. I'm not sure if they were attempting to make it longer or what was going on. Then there was some. They were closing the silent auction tables, and then we got to the interesting part, which was the live auction part of that.
Yes.
Yes, and so. Once again, going on to things that I have never done because I'm a cheap ass. I actually bid on some things.
Which shocked
for
me.
Lois.
Which
let's see. Carrie says, no complex given. I am confident woman. That we don't. We know.
Yes.
That's why we're not worried about it, Carrie.
Nope.
But just know that we find them hilarious. We just have to keep it PG-13.
At least verbally.
Verbally, yes. We know what you mean. Innuendo is one thing. But... So anyway, what? Oh.
You. Oh.
Just saying. So anyway, where was I? I lost my train of thought.
A live auction.
Oh yeah, the live auction. So, never having bid on anything before, I was like, well, I've got one thing I want to bid on because somebody's birthday is coming up. Somebody's birthday is coming up soon, so I thought it would be an amazing idea to try and get me some stuffs for the lowest. Yeah, it didn't work out.
No.
That did not work out.
Nope.
Yeah, I was like, I got this, man. I got this. Nope. So there was this package of stuff. It was a spa day for two, which was like I don't know. No, it's like an hour massage and then a spa and a lunch thing over at Amangiri. And if you guys don't know what Amangiri is, you'll have to check it out at some point. But it's this really, really high-end luxury resort for like Hollywood types, okay? And it's just down the road from where we live here. And I was like, wow, that would be really cool. And you know, so the projected value of it, I think, was like $700 or $800. And I'm like, well, it's a little expensive, but it's for your birthday, so it's worth it. And so, you know, I was raising my little bid thing up there and got a couple in. And I got up to just about half of the value, which was making me sweat. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be expensive. And then all hell broke loose. I don't know what happened, but some of the tour companies in town decided that they would like these particular...
The owners of...
Yeah, the owners of these tour companies decided that they would like to take a part in this particular thing. And it quickly went from half the price to double the price. And then... the person that runs Amangiri said, well, let's make it even better. Let's go ahead and throw in dinner and staying overnight. We'll throw in a room for you and everything. By the time all was said and done, I think that freaking package went for like $2,500. Which is more than I make in like 6 months. So I'm just saying. I was trying, but I got my ass handed to me.
So if you're watching, Michelle, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations on your stuff. Sorry, Lois, but you ain't going to Amangiri for your birthday.
No.
Because damn. I'll tell you what, man. Let's see. Carrie says, "Don't give a number 2. You don't if you didn't get it." Oh no, you're fine.
No. It was the whole experience of the thing. His first time, doing it.
Oh no, she's talking about her other stuff. Oh, she says. I missed one over here. Carrie says, "Or I've got the
DGAS disorder that hits women in their 40s."
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, right there with you. And John is over on Facebook is saying, "Good morning, LPNN. How's the morning cup?"
It's pretty good. How you doing?
Is. And a little confused.
And a little, yeah. I'm always
Monday.
confused. Yes, it happens. It happens. Let's see. Kelly says, "I work at Amangiri." Cool.
Nice.
Well, there you go. So you probably know what we're talking about. But yeah, anyway, so Lois definitely did not win that particular auction item. Like I said, I wanted to do something nice for your birthday. You screwed, man. All I'm saying. I mean, I would have loved to have done it for you, but I'm not sacrificing our quality of life for one afternoon of stuff.
No, it's fine.
Although that could be interesting.
Oh boy, no.
Anyway,
No.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So it was interesting, but the cool thing was, all of the money that goes on for the best of page thing, the silent auctions, the normal auctions, all the stuff that people do, the money that gets spent there goes to the local chamber to help raise funds for other events and things during the year. So it was really cool that the two owners of the tour companies were intentionally trying to raise the price so that more money would go to the chamber. And so that's when it got out of control, and I'm like, have fun with that.
Yeah.
That is way too rich for my blood, really.
Yes,
You're trying to kill yourself again.
Oh.
Lock your chair, Lois, so I'm just going to make But anyway, so it was cool. But yeah, I was just like, ugh. Because I thought I had a chance, man. I thought I had a chance. I didn't have a chance. It went from this much to holy monkey. Never mind. Yeah.
See, and once I saw that one of the owners started bidding, I told you, I said, don't.
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to. Nope.
Yeah. So my first auction experience was interesting and like, okay, I'm done.
Well, you know what? Now this reminds me. When it comes to live auctions, you are a rarity.
Huh?
Because most people get into it.
Oh yeah, no.
And become
I was on a mission.
engrossed in what in the actual act of auctioning.
But isn't that like an addiction problem or something?
Some are addicted to it, but others just don't realize that.
So they get wrapped up in the moment.
They do.
I didn't, because I have a very keen understanding of the value of money and how much I have. So that's all I'm saying. I'm like I can do this. I can do this. Damn, I'm out. And you know, it would have been better. See, okay, so our auction numbers, they came on a piece of paper. And it was kind of folded up, and you would hold up your paper.
Yes.
It would have been better, because I've seen this on movies and TV shows, if they would have had paddles, because they spanked my ass. That's what happened. It was a beatdown, and I was like, oh, the big money's talking. Oh, get it away. And so I just sat in my little chair going, because I meant well, Lois. I tried. I did. But damn.
I know you did.
Yeah, that went downhill in a hurry.
It did. Well, actually, it didn't go downhill really fast.
For me, it went downhill. For them, it was amazing. But
because it took a while. Because you actually opened.
I did. I opened, which, you know what? I should probably not have done. Because technically, you know, you're like, yeah, okay, they've got this much. I'm going to try and beat them. No, I open. I'm like, I'll take it. And then somebody else was like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, and then yeah, and then I'm like, oh, and then it was like, whoa, never mind. No. It was horrifying, man.
No, it was
horrible.
great.
I'm just saying. It was insane. Oh, we missed some comments over here.
Yeah, over on YouTube, Carrie's saying, yeah, I'm not alone. So, I worked so hard to get a filter just to have it break right when it was working great. I guess the warranty ran out. Yeah.
Yeah, my warranty is over expired. My mileage is definitely... I know what you're talking about. And Carrie says, sorry you lost a bid. It happens. It happens. But see, that's the thing, too, is that, you know, a lot of people are, you know, they would get sad or they would enjoy it because of the experience. I was just in it because I wanted to get you something cool for your birthday.
I appreciate it.
That's all I was out there to do. Which is probably why I didn't get wrapped up in it as much. And I was just like... Never mind. Too rich for my blood. Dave says over on YouTube, he says, I saw Lois keep putting her hand over his bid card saying, no. And I'm like, shut up, it's for your birthday. It's for your birthday. It's for your birthday. And I'm like, I love you, but I don't got that kind of money. Gina says, yes, my husband used to get wrapped up in auctions. He was fun to watch.
Yeah.
I was not fun. It started out where I was like, it's expensive to, ooh, I can still do it to, yeah, friggin' right. Let's see, Dave says, thought Lois was going to grab her card and use it like a newspaper. Yes.
Yeah.
Hit me with it. Yeah, pretty much. I tell you, man, it was interesting. But I was sad. It was so good. So close, man. So close, but so far away.
Oh, definitely so far away.
But anyway, they ended up raising a crap ton of money for the chamber.
They did.
Which is cool.
It is a good thing.
It helps them put on more events and more stuff and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
And then the chamber president, who we like a lot, the chamber president, his name is Scott Swank. And when you got a name like Swank, that's just, I mean, that's amazing. He had on the coolest suit I've ever seen.
He did. Oh my goodness.
I said, I must have that. He had on this, like, freaking royal blue kind of, like, tuxedo thing.
It looked almost shark skinish because it was a little
bit, yeah.
It was a little shiny.
A little, yeah, but you know what? See, so you know how expensive a suit is based on how much, like, chrome it looks like. That's, like, an Italian thing. Yeah, the shinier it is, the more expensive it is. I don't know why that is. And what I'm talking, there's like a luster that comes from the fabric it's made out of that makes it more. Trust me.
I don't remember ever hearing that.
Yeah, well, you don't wear suits, Lois. You're a chick. That's how that works.
I do wear suits.
Not that kind of suit, man. I'm talking like Italian suits. But anyway, so back to Mr. Swank. He had on this like royal blue that was kind of a glossy looking like tuxedo thing, and it had like this black satin stuff on.
Oh, it was gorgeous.
It was epic, man.
It was.
I was like, yeah, I could totally pull that off. Probably not. He definitely pulled it off.
And Carrie says, I love live auctions, but you got to watch out the ones that have people in the audience bidding to drive up the price.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, they started doing that. I'm like, have fun. Yeah, I opened it up and I stayed in there for a good, must have been a minute and a half. And then I was like, whoa.
Which is actually a long time for live auctions.
Is it? Okay. Well, yeah, but that one went on for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was like ding ding, and then it got up into the high ranks and stuff, and I'm like, never mind. This is done.
So enjoy your vacation over at Gary.
Yeah, pretty much.
You earned it.
Let's see. Gina says, when is your birthday, Lois? She's got exactly 2 days until her birthday. Her birthday's on the 10th. You know what? It's funny. I can't remember squat, but I remember that.
Oh, well, that's because you have a thing to remember it.
Yeah, but I don't remember what the thing is to remember it. But I remember your birthday, so it works. See, I had like a mnemonic device that I figured out to be able to figure out, and then now I forgot the device, but I remember the date, so it works.
Well, that works.
Let's see. Here says Minuteman.
No.
That's just not nice.
But if you're talking in auction time, that's a very long time.
Yeah, see? Yeah, I'm going with that. What she... Anyway. But, yeah, so it was interesting. Did we do the face thing before or after that? Your phone doohickey with the stupid...
It was before.
Oh, okay.
Because it was just taking forever for them
we were...
to move
Oh, that's right.
things
It was
along.
during one of the breaks. Huh?
It was. Yeah. And I even texted my sister one of the pictures, and I said, we're bored. At a function we forgot about. Because,
but it was because it was a huge break in between the stuff.
It was. And so Carrie's asking, I hope everyone is buying tickets for Wine and Wags. Pa gets the procedures.
Proceeds. That would be proceeds. Actually, I didn't realize it was coming up, Carrie. Normally they let us know about their events, and they haven't. So we'll have to check into that for you. Apparently they don't want us to talk about it. I don't know.
And then Carrie says, you said it first.
Hey. Yeah, the Wags and Wine event is actually really cool. There's wine and there's dogs for adoption and there's silent auction, or is it live auction?
I think it's a silent auction.
Yeah, they've got a silent auction. They've got pets or dogs that are up for adoption and cats and stuff like. It's really cool.
Last year they brought a baby that was up for adoption.
Oh, cool.
A fur-legged baby.
Four-legged
fur baby.
Dog.
Yeah. And she's the cutest little thing.
Yes, she was. And she got adopted, too.
She did.
Let's see. Carrie says, hey, you missed the other comment.
It was probably the one for Pa.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. It's all doing its weird puppy thing. You never know what's going on with that.
Because it keeps jumping.
Yeah. Sorry about that if we missed your stuff. We're not missing it intentionally, except for occasionally, but then I let you know.
Oh, my.
What? All right, so anyway, yeah, that was the thing. They had some other auction stuff and everything, but we had to call it early. Yes, we had to call the whole best of page thing early, even though it was actually supposed to be over by the time we actually left. So, or at least in the final stages of it. Yeah, like I said, they were like 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours behind schedule the entire time, and finally I'm like, look, we gotta wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We need to get the hell out of here. What?
4 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, 4 o'clock in the morning. 1 hour before our normal wake-up time. And on a weekend. What?
With an alarm. On a day we don't need an alarm.
Actually, we did, because we had to wake up.
Right. I'm saying on a day we don't need an alarm. Yes. We have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning with an alarm.
Yep. So there was a trip that a friend of mine planned, and... we got to go up to, well, okay, so he had been planning this trip for a while. I got to lead into this a little bit here. There's a trip on the lake that he had been planning for quite some time, and he invited me along to go check it out, because apparently this thing only happens like every once in a massive while. It's happened like 3 times since Lake Powell was built.
Oh, okay.
And what that is there's this place called, I think it's called, I have to get the name right, but I think it's the Cathedral in the Desert is the name of the place on Lake Powell. And the water has to be low enough for this particular thing to actually happen. And the actual thing is, nobody's mentioned it today, but you see this waterfall right here? This is the Cathedral in the Desert. This is a waterfall. We're on Lake Powell right here. And, yeah, look at this. I've got some other pictures.
It's really pretty.
It's hard to kind of tell because since it's in, we're in the Homestead Studio TARDIS here.
Yes.
And, well, this is where our location is today. This is actually
and
a waterfall.
And you have bars everywhere, so,
Whatever. Anyway, stop your complaining. Oh, hold on. We got another thing over here. Let's see. Dave says, when is it? Go plug it. Yes, we'll definitely get that in there.
Let us know, Carrie.
And Carrie says, everybody should check out Annie. Poor girl has been there for 3 years. Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to check that in.
Yes.
But anyway, back to the trip here. So this has only happened like 3 times in the history of Lake Powell where the water's been low enough for this waterfall to actually be going on in the cathedral. So really cool. Just an amazing opportunity. And so we had it's a long way up the lake though. It was going to be an entire day trip, so we had to leave really early, had to pack the boat, the whole 9 yards. And then go. So that's why we had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, because we had to wake up. That was so we could drive out there. Then I got to load the boat, and then we get in the boat, and then we go. And it was like I think it was like 70 miles or something up lake. Yeah, something like that. I
stayed here.
It was she can't handle the boats.
Even if my homework was done, and we were talking about this yesterday because you felt bad that I had to stay behind, but
she couldn't.
I mean, I worked on homework yesterday, but there is no way, even with homework, that I would have been able to.
Yeah, she has a thing with boats; they make her sick.
Yeah, with the little ones.
Little ones. Yeah, she's fine on a houseboat. A friend of ours has a houseboat, and she went on that very, very but she ended up being okay. But the little boats, nope. Definitely not the little boats.
Like I told one of the people that went with you guys yesterday, because they were asking if I was excited to go, and I let them know, nope, I wouldn't be good company. Because for me to be able to handle it, I'd need Dramamine intravenously.
Well, speaking of which, we had a little munchkin with us, and she was asleep most of the trip. So.
Nice.
But
that works.
She had a laugh though when she was out running around. But excuse me. But anyway, so we got to go all the way up lake and see this, and we're going to be talking about this some more because it was an absolutely incredible trip. And I got to take some amazing pictures. And, we're definitely going to have to share that with you guys. But one of the things I wanted to share with our audience here was, for those of you that are in page, around page, or are coming to page in the near future.
Near future being when?
Who cares?
Okay.
Near future, until the stuff reverses, okay?
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I don't know. Do I look psychic?
Yes.
Anyway, back to reality, Lois. So anyway, as you guys know or may not know, the lake has been going down quite a bit because the runoff has not started yet for the year. And as you can see, the lake is extremely low because this has only happened a few times since the lake has been formed. Right here. This little waterfall. Absolutely incredible. Anyway, so the lake is really low right now. And one of the things I wanted to show you guys, who here knows what Antelope Point Marina is?
Well, of course I do.
Yeah.
Well, surprisingly, I do actually.
So
because I don't get out very often.
Anyway, so Antelope Point Marina has a launch ramp, and over the last few years, it's been getting close, and then the water will come back up and close and everything. Well, if you wanted to launch your boat from the Antelope launch ramp, I'm here to tell you, you probably don't want to try that. Because, I'll just put this out there for you.
Yeah.
This is the Antelope Point launch ramp, which is approximately 30 feet-ish, maybe a little more, a little bit less, out of the water. So unless you plan on driving down there and kicking your boat off the edge, not happening. Although it is a great place for people to launch their kayaks and stuff. As you can see, there's some people that way over there that are actually walking up and down, launching their kayaks and their paddle boards and stuff of that nature. But yeah, this is the Antelope Point launch ramp. Look at that! Look how far out of the water that thing is. I've never seen it that way. I've been here a long time. Never seen it. I was pretty impressed. We got a bunch of comments over here.
We do on YouTube.
Let me check the YouTube side of things. Let's see. Oh, she's still talking about Wags and Wine. We'll get back to you on that one.
Yep.
Whoa. Where am I at?
Gina's saying she also has to have Dramamine.
Oh, okay.
She even has to have it when she goes on cruise ships.
Oh, really? Oh, that's terrible.
And Dave is asking how long will it be there? He just got the boat working yesterday, and he would love to be able to find.
It's probably going to be there. I would guess minimum a couple of weeks, but I mean we're getting ready for the runoff to start happening. So it'll slowly start coming back up here pretty soon. So if you can get up there, now is the time.
And Gina loves you.
What?
She's saying you're psychotic, not psychic.
Oh.
Or look psychotic, not psychic.
Yes, I am psychotic.
And Carrie says psycho, maybe a little, when you make that face where one eye goes bigger than the other.
Excellent. And Carrie says, wow, I just told someone it was open. Yeah, guess what? It ain't.
I mean, the marina itself is open. You just can't launch from
you can't launch your own personal boat. They do have an executive launch ramp that you have to pay to use. That's a whole other thing. You have to talk to them about that. But the public launch ramp at Antelope Point Marina, it ain't open, man. As you can see from this picture, this was yesterday evening. Unless you're kicking that boat off the trailer and seeing how far it'll bounce. Nope. Definitely not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen. But you know, Antelope Point Marina is open. The restaurant's open. They still have their tours going on. I mean, all of the other stuff is going on, but the public launch ramp... the public launch ramp...
Well, technically it is open.
If you have a real boat and not a kayak, it's closed, okay? Don't confuse people, Lois. Because look, I mean, if you had a boat, would you try and kick it off?
Oh, heck no.
Yeah, like I said, that's at least 30 feet, man. Give or take a few. So, yeah. That was, just absolutely amazing.
And over on Facebook, Renee is saying that your right shoulder was cut off.
Yeah, I know. I have to adjust that thing. Let's see. Diana says, what about the valet ramp? The valet ramp, this is the one I was talking about. The valet ramp is still open over there, but you got to pay to use and stuff. This is the public launch ramp we're talking about.
The free one.
Yeah, the free public launch ramp. The water is definitely too low. Just saying. So there's kind of a news story on that one. Yeah, you can walk your happy little butt down there with a kayak, but you ain't getting a real boat out there. And by real boat, I don't mean to be offensive to those of you that think kayaks and blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying one that has an engine in it that you have to tow on a trailer.
Not happening.
No. Unless you got some kind of transformer or something, or you just want to kick it off the edge. Although, you know, if you do want to kick it off the edge, let me know, because I want to video it.
Or you're one of the strong men and can lift the boat by yourself.
Yeah. Pretty much. Let me check over here. Diana says, hey, $40 is worth the valet lunch. Actually, I think it's a bit more expensive than that, Diana, but I'm not 100%. Last I heard it was $75, but I don't know. Either way, it's pretty cool. And they like I said, the private one is still open. The valet one is still open. Just the public launch ramp is closed, as you can see from the picture. Yes. So, anyway. So, yeah, guys, obviously the lake is really low this year. But there are some amazing things that you can see right now that have only been able to be seen
a few
times since Lake Powell was built. So that's that's some history in the making. So if you have the ability to get your butt out there on the water, go check it out. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, before crazy tourist season begins, because when we went out there, we only ran into a couple of different vessels on the lake.
Nice.
It was very just quiet, and there were huge, just vast sections of the lake look like glass. And I've got some amazing pictures of that as well. Let's see, what do we have here?
Carrie says, I can just see some machismo guy with a big truck trying to back their big boat in.
Yeah, if anybody sees that, record it for me, because I want to watch. And David says, there must be a heck of a bathtub ring around the lake right now. There always is.
Yeah.
The lake went to absolute maximum capacity back in the late 80s. And when it came back down, it left the ring, and it's never been that high again because it was actually dangerous to keep it that high. They actually almost lost the dam back in the late 80s because they let it get too full. So,
Oops.
yeah. It was a close thing. It was a close thing, but yeah, there's been a ring around it for quite some time, David.
And Diana says she uses the valet launch ramp every year.
All right, so you would know that. Awesome.
Yes,
So
she
$40
would.
for a valet
Yeah.
launch. That's awesome. Yeah, we're just saying the public launch ramp here. I will show you again in case you guys missed it. This is the public launch ramp. The free public launch ramp. You ain't using it. And if you do, record it because I'm going to put it in some kind of blooper reel. That's all I'm saying.
Oh boy.
What?
And Kara's saying she loves kayaking and she's wondering if anyone's up to going with her.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. I don't have a kayak and I have...
I would love to learn.
Yeah.
That would be, after May.
Yeah, when there's actual time. That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. Diana says, she's laughing over on Facebook, and Eric says, gotta get a run at it. You can do it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, just back up really, really fast and slam on those brakes and let that boat go, shoot it right off the ramp and splash. You know what? You might be onto something. If you do it, please video it.
Warning, the show's for entertainment purposes only.
No, I want to watch. Just let it happen. But we're not responsible for the damages.
Oh my goodness, no.
Oh, man.
Oh, Lord, no.
And Diana says, I missed the start. May I ask what the background is? Oh, yeah, this is the cathedral in the desert, and this is a waterfall, so you're going to have to rewatch that section. We just talked about it. We are actually out of time today, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for liking, sharing, and commenting on the Facebook side. And thank you for giving us that thumbs up, subscribing, and hitting that bell, and sharing on the YouTube side. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you for joining us today. Have an epic, majestic, magical Murphy Monday.
Yes.
Until the next one, guys.
Most definitely.
Who is ready for some Rupert?
I am.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.